What's going on, everybody? This is Jan Sports, aka Jan76 back here again. And today, I want to quickly recap the Oklahoma Sooners just annihilating the Florida Gators, 55-20, man. And there's a lot to talk about, here. But just quickly, just recapping this thing real quick, guys. I mean, Oklahoma just, I mean, what can you say, man? I mean, look at the final score. One of the things that Oklahoma did really well was that they just completely controlled the line of scrimmage, either on the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball. Florida couldn't do a damn thing with the Oklahoma Sooners on the line of scrimmage. They got blown off the ball to the Oklahoma Sooners, and I actually think that the rushing attack had over 10 yards per carry. I know they had over 435 yards, but you look at guys like Stevenson, and you look at guys like Marcus Major, who's their third string running back. He had over 100 yards today. Looked very, very explosive. Seth McGowan he had one carry, but it was a large gain, and then he was exceptional in the receiving game as well. I mean, Oklahoma. I mean, just no matter who you just put in the goddamn backfield, Oklahoma was just going to get over 5 to 6 yards per carry. It was embarrassing how Florida's defensive line, how their front seven could not handle the Oklahoma Sooners offensive line. Now, granted, it's a really, really good offensive line. And I think that Florida's defense was missing some players. I'm not too sure. I think they were missing some players. I know 9 starters opted out of this game, but still, I mean, for a team that was talking a lot of crap, and Florida fans, you guys know this, the Gators were talking a lot of crap. You guys should at least showed some type of depth. Showed some depth that you guys can recruit at an elite level. I mean, the fact that you got blown out this badly by the Oklahoma Sooners, it shows pretty much everybody that your recruiting classes, you guys are not developing you guys are not developing your classes. You guys are not developing your classes because and people will say, well, look what they did to Alabama, 52-46. I'm going to get to that, and I'm going to explain why the Florida Gators were so goddamn successful. But you lose 3 starters on the offensive side of the ball, and primarily guys like Pitts, Tony, Grimes, and then you lose Copeland because of COVID issues. So you lose all your starters there. Defensively, we all know the Gators suck, but not this bad. Not this bad. The offense was the sole purpose the Florida Gators got as far as they did. Defensively, it's been a horrid mess, and tonight just proved it. It was a massacre on that side of the ball. It was a massacre. They could not stop Spencer Rattler for throwing the football, or even when he was on a run, they continued to lose discipline and lose containment. Now, granted, I give Florida credit because they fought, right? Even when Oklahoma was up 17-0, Florida, they fought and they forced a couple of turnovers, but Oklahoma just completely just dominated Florida. It wasn't even close on that side of the ball. I mean, the second quarter, that was it. But it was just complete dominance. And then you look at what happened on the offensive side of the ball for the Florida Gators. Kyle Trask looked lost. He looked lost. I mean, let's be honest, he looked lost. I mean, I gave him a bunch of credit for the Alabama football game, but one of the things that I kind of kept harping about this season was that this air raid offense, and people say this is not air raid offense. Yes, it is. This is the air raid offense. This is the air raid offense, people. When you look at this air raid offense, a lot of the times, a lot of the quarterbacks look at one side of the ball, and that's literally the only side they look at too. They don't go through their reads. They don't go through their progressions. They look at one side of the one side, and that's their read. They look at that one read, and that's the read that they're going to go to. And they're going to give the receivers the best chance in order for them to complete. Now, granted, I give Kyle Trask credit. He's been accurate. He's given his receivers the best opportunities when he's thrown those passes. And, a lot of those times it's risk. It's kind of risk and reward. And for a lot of the times, it's been rewarding for the Florida Gators. But there are times, too, where it's kind of cost them. And you look at Kyle Trask and the weapons that he had. You had a once-in-a-generation. No, you had probably the best tight end prospect maybe I've ever seen in Kyle Pitts. One of the best route runners, one of the best pass catchers, and in a tremendous red zone threat and a physical specimen in Kyle Pitts. You had Kadarius Toney, who was pretty much Jalen Waddle 2.0. You had Trayvon Grimes, who's a very solid number 2 receiver who made a huge impact in the receiving position. And then, of course, you lose your 4th player in Jacob Copeland. Now, Justin Shorter also made some impactful plays as well. However, that's your big 3 or 4. You lose those guys, And it's not like these Florida Gators that replaced them in this game. It's not like they weren't getting open, because they were open. Kyle Trask, for the most part, overthrew passes, underthrew passes, and he also just didn't go through his reads. He would look at one side of the ball, and he's just going to go there instead of just going through his progressions. The offensive line is not good. It's not a good offensive line. I've always kind of said that. I think the receivers were the biggest reason why they're in this position in the first place, and the receivers kind of bailed out of how bad that offensive line was. But they couldn't run the football. They couldn't throw the football. And, it was just a hot mess. Now, granted, I'm going to give Oklahoma some credit. Defensively, they played well. They were very, very physical against that Florida Gators offensive line, and they did a great job. I got to give the Sooners a lot of credit. And again, you look at next year, I think Oklahoma's defense will continue to progress, and they'll continue to get better. But Kyle Trask showed why he's not a first-round quarterback. I actually think he actually regressed from last year, because last year he was actually going through his reads, right? If the first read wasn't there, if the second read wasn't there, he'll go to the check down, right? If his other reads weren't there, he would just scan the football field last year. This year, it's just he's literally looking at one side and he's throwing the ball up to his players, and his receivers are coming down with it. I got to give Trask credit for being accurate and giving his receivers and putting his receivers in the best position to go ahead and get those balls. But you can clearly see that as soon as those players opt out and they leave, the chemistry that Kyle Trask kind of formulated with those players, Kyle Trask just looked like, what the hell am I going to do? He just looked lost. So that's a big concern to me, because when those players leave and those players are going to the NFL, and if Kyle Trask returns, who's going to be his primary target? Is it going to be Copeland? Is it going to be Justin Shorter? Is it going to be Keon Zippier? Who are going to be his primary targets? Because there is no Kyle Pitts on this football team. There is no Kadarius Toney on this football team right now. Maybe there's a Grimes. Maybe Copeland can be that Grimes type of player. But Florida's not winning with this offense unless you got a bunch of really, really great players in the receiving position. You're not winning. And even then, you had no run game. Your offensive line was average, and defensively, you were garbage with Todd Grantham. That's not going to fly year in and year out of winning the SEC East. It's not going to do that. Georgia's going to get stronger. Remember, when they played Georgia, Georgia was depleted on the defensive side of the ball, and they played with Stetson Bennett. Georgia's going to get stronger next year, and they're going to be pissed off, and they're going to be looking at that game for revenge. Do you really think that with the way the Florida Gators performed today, that they're going to win the East? Nope. It's not going to happen. Even if they do get past the East, do you think they're going to beat Alabama? You think they're going to beat LSU or A&M if those teams get to if they're representatives of their division? Nope. They might win a lot of games, the Florida Gators, but they'll be right back to where they are. New Year's Six Bowl, maybe the Outback Bowl or the Citrus Bowl. That's exactly where they'll be at. And Dan Mullen, he's gonna have to answer a lot of questions from Florida fans, because if this is the best that they can get. Again, a depleted Georgia team. You lost to a depleted LSU football team. You let Oklahoma, you lost to Alabama, which is no shame in losing to Alabama, but you had an opportunity to beat Alabama with some of the best receivers you've ever had. And you lost that game because your players were undisciplined in that football game. And then you come out and you get smashed by the Oklahoma Sooners, proving that those receivers were the biggest reasons why the Florida Gators were where they at. That's bad. So Dan Mullins, he's gonna have to do a lot of fact checking. He's gonna have to look back. He's gonna have to start over, and he's gonna look at it and say, what can we do to get to where we want to be, and that's eventually being a national champion. So far, the Florida Gators are nowhere close to looking like that right now. I know that you got the Bama game, and people can look at that and say, well, the Florida Gators were close, but based off what I saw tonight, Kadarius Toney, Kyle Pitts, Trayvon and Grimes, Copeland, those guys weren't playing. But the depth kind of really showed today. The Florida Gators are lacking depth. Your defense sucking, your offensive line sucking, your running game sucking is not going to save you. No matter how many passes you throw for, no matter how many yards you go for, it's not going to help you win a lot of football games in the near future, especially when defenses adapt to your play style. Defenses get better, and defenses adapt to what you do every year. So, to the Oklahoma Sooner fans, congratulations. You guys won the Cotton Bowl. You guys deserved it. Oklahoma is a promising team, and I look forward to seeing them next year. But to the Gators, a lot of work to do, man. A lot of work to do. Anyway, Jan716, aka Jan Sports, have a good night. And again, I look forward to covering a lot of those more football games. So seasonal recaps for these teams are on the way, and hopefully you guys can stay tuned for that. But anyway, Jan716, aka Jan Sports, I'm out. Peace.